We we are here laughing because Erika is sharing with us about National Chicken Lady Day, and we're just waiting her for to lay that egg. You lay them, we'll sell them, and tell us.
Okay, first of all, hello everybody. Today, this episode is dropping on November 4th, is today, and it's episode 71. Welcome. We're still the same people that were here last week. So we're actually going to be talking a little bit about the concept of why we think why it's so hard for us as people, as humans, to put ourselves out there, generally speaking. Now, we can apply this to allowing ourselves to go deeper in conversations, meaningful conversations with people who we care about, being willing to open up to even strangers and try to tap in and connect for conversations. We could also apply it to those of us who have businesses or are striving to have businesses in the helping profession, but we're afraid. Like, does what I have to say, where did everybody go? What does what I have to say matter? Like, why is it so scary for me to do that? So going off of that, today's National Chicken Lady Day. Everybody calm down. I know it sounds crazy, but it ties in a little bit. So apparently what this day is about is there's a woman out there in the world named Dr. Marthenia Tina Dupree. And apparently for 12 years, she worked for the second largest chicken restaurant in the world as the director of community relations and training. What caught me was that she's widely known due to her work in the community, right? So she's become somebody standing and being a national day of recognition for her because of all of her work that she's done in the community and all the people that she's helped. So she's become to known as the Chicken Lady, which is why we have this day. So I thought it was interesting that here you have a single person who is anonymously doing a job as being the director of community relations and training, and made it such an impact in the world that we have a day dedicated to her now. And I'm wondering why it's so hard for many of us to put ourselves out there when there's a need for it, apparently. So that was my connection there. After our giddy and our laughter with all the chicken noises that were going on before we hit recording, this is where we're at. So anybody, please, want to talk more about why it's so hard to have deep, meaningful conversations? You know, what's scary about that? What are we afraid to tap into in ourselves that stops us from doing that? And why we're afraid of putting ourselves out in the world, making statements and speaking our truths and being a voice for something.
First of all,
Hello?
I have an echo.
Let me mute.
Is it you? No? Hang on.
I don't know what's going on, but Brett or Tim, do you guys somebody want to say something here while Alec figures out what the hell is going on his end?
My first thought, and there's a lot here, because I kind of want to say initially that I feel like people are afraid to put themselves out there because they don't know who they are, right? They struggle to know who they are. And part of that, it feels almost like it's part of the social agenda right now to have everybody be such a blank slate, to not tell them to believe in anything from a religious value perspective, or to believe in they belong going to this bathroom or that bathroom, and so on and so forth. And it's like we celebrate the blank slatedness in some sense because there's so much potential, but without proper guidance and structure, it can become very disarming to try to make confident decisions, because you're possibly setting yourself up to always look for the affirmation, right? And that's a herd mentality. That is absolutely a herd mentality. And a couple of you have heard me say this before, but I've always felt that the group should not define the individual, that the group should be defined by individuals, right? The individuals coming together should define the group. Us four here, we're all individual people. That's going to define how this conversation is going to go, right? This is one of my first ones still. This is, I think, the third week that I've been here. I didn't suddenly get a guideline from all of you telling me how I have to show up or dress or behave or speak or any of those types of things. That would be you being gatekeepers of what you're doing here. And you got to have structure that people can adhere to and respect to. But it's in the respecting of that that makes me more welcome, because I'm respecting what's already been established and everybody else is having that as well. So how do we help people move past that? Well, how do we continue to encourage them to discover who it is that they actually are? What's the foundation of values, of what they stand on, of openness, all these different things, rather than this constant jumping from one foot to the other word, I'm going to be judged or canceled, or, something's going to come up from 10 years ago on social media that's going to get me fired. I mean, there's it's an entire different way of thinking, I think, in the current modern generation. And we've done it to ourselves, by the way, right? Because we can immortalize things from 10, 15 years ago. It's all on camera. It's all there. We can't use the excuse for some reason that, oh, I've grown out of that. I'm not that person anymore. Because people will just keep bringing these things up and living there and labeling you as that. And I wonder sometimes when people say, well, then what's the point of trying to change? Right? I've already been weighed and measured, so no one's going to let me forget it. I'll just stay.
It's how you walk through it, I believe. Right? So everything you said, yeah, you can keep bringing it up from the past, right? But how am I reacting to it now? And how am I consistent in what I'm saying? Right? Oh yeah, man, I was going through some hard times. I learned a lot since then. And I don't want that gone, because that's my marker of where I was and how I got to where I am now. Because that's the reality of what's going on, right? How else do you mark your growth? You have to have a time of XYZ, whatever that was for you. But then where am I now? And you don't see the difference in me? You don't see the person that stands before you now? Am I not different? Am I the same? Do I have that much more work? Right? If people would just stop and pause for a moment, you can bring that stuff up, but look at the reaction of the individual when you speak to them. And then you could actually acknowledge the growth within that person. Like, wow, man, I know your video when you were, oh yeah, that was a dark time. Well, whatever it is, oh yeah, I did some stupid stuff, whatever, right? You'll hear, and if they're honest and vulnerable, right? And being able to admit whatever it is, there is a shift. There's a shift in all of us, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. As life goes on, we all grow. And I think that you spoke on like the fear mentality. Like that's a big thing that keeps us small, right? Because it is fear mindset, and it just keeps us small and doing things that don't really resonate with us, right? Where you would want to be more bigger and come from a different perspective. But for some reason, it's all about keeping people small, because God forbid they grow to that point, right? They're going to flourish. They're going to be whatever, right? And if you can keep people, you can control them more, right? If they're in a fear mindset. So the fear mindset, I think, is really being put out there a lot. I mean, even if you look at the news, it's like, we got fear 24 hours a day. Stick with us. The next update is blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh God, is that really going on? And yeah, it's going on, but there's other things going on that they're not reporting either. And what's going on in your life, more importantly, right? I mean, not that the news isn't important and things going on, it's not important, but it's where we are in our lives and how we move through it that supports or, moves those things through. There's a whole, we're forgetting about the role that we play in the world and in our lifetime. Alec, it's good to see you now blurry again. And now you sound like you might be.
Am I? What is
No, you look good.
We can hear you.
Looking good, baby. Looking good.
I'm going to bring back to what you're putting out there is, and you're talking about the age and the fact that people's words and stuff are there forever. I mean, this is not new. You look at the film Notting Hill, where Robert's character says, not just lost, somebody will. And I'm not going to go into like deeply political. I know that's not really what our channel is about. But you cannot say things that are grossly inappropriate, and we could actually warrant you being missed from your job and have that excused away as being naive or childish. If you've reached the age of maturity, you are not in the eyes of the law, not in the country, not in the eyes of your friends and colleagues. And to say that people aged 18, 40 are kids is utter BS. And if they are kids, they should not be in the roles that they are operating. You cannot be a politically influential person and have your leadership turning around and saying, those kids playing, they're just taking off steam. No. When it comes to putting yourself out there, as we're talking about, it should be our intentions and our character that we are standing. There's that quote by Marianne Williams about not being inadequate, but being too powerful. That's the sort of stuff we're aiming to present to the world, for people to step back in awe. Wow, amazing. These are the future. This the chicken age of the future. Not to be people saying, oh, we'll just rep over, not there to cancel people. No, stand what you said, apologise, have other people say this is not acceptable, but next point, we do recognise that there is ability to change, and give them the opportunity. But that level of trust has to have been affected. You're going to have to do a lot of work to get back to the kind of thing where I'm going to trust you in, even if it's like government, parent-teacher association. It's just not something that you stand by without recognising the ways.
So your what you just said was powerful, but you're choppy in your, I caught the gist of it. I'm sure our viewers are going to catch the gist of it. And I'm just going to continue off of that because we all know. And if you don't know, I'm about to tell you, I don't do politics. Like, I'm not doing this. I don't go in this direction. So before we go off the rails and go there, because I don't want to do that. And I think our viewers get enough of it that we can provide a place to not go there and still talk about the things that are relevant to everybody. In this concept of why are we afraid to put ourselves out there? Like we could talk globally, like in a big scale, like what Alec was just talking about, saying things that make an impact at large, right? Why are we afraid to do that? And like he said, it's being afraid of your own power, really, like being that powerful that I might have something to say, but yet, and I'll speak in I terms, I stop myself from doing that because of why. And this is what I want to talk about a little bit more here. Like, this is what gets in the way of us in our very personal relationships, right? Not showing up in our truest, highest self, because what are we afraid of? What are we afraid going to happen if I allow myself to be vulnerable and open and show my true power in my closest relationships? If I show up to my relationship in my highest self and in my strength, why would I stop myself from doing that? Right? That, to me, stopping yourself from doing that hurts your relationships, right? Because you're not being authentic and showing up in your fullest way, the best way you can for yourself and your partners, for your kids, for your friends, for whoever it is. So why, if any of you can speak on this, if it does speak to you, are you afraid to do that? Are you afraid to do that? Are there situations that you're more afraid to do that? And what caused you to be afraid to do that? I used to be really afraid to do that. I'll be honest. Like when I was younger, I was a lot more closed mouth, if you can believe it. Believe it, people. There was a time where I would sit and just not say, just observe and just not say, and just sit with my own feelings of, well, I don't really have anything to say here. And this is something that I've worked really hard, and I'm still in the process of learning how to kill off that part of me, that belief that I don't have anything to say. Really, why would anybody want to listen to me? And I'm in the process of meeting that power that could possibly be there. And now I'm tangling with the fear of letting that out because of what could possibly happen as a result of that. So that's where I am with it. As far as globally, I have a lot that I could say. What stops me? It's that old belief of I don't have anything different to say. Everybody's already saying what I have to say. What makes it different? Well, I make it different. That's what makes it different. Me. Nobody else is me. I'm me. I have to understand that is value in itself. That's still a work in process. So anybody else want to talk about that?
I can echo what you're saying, but I'm going to add to that too. And I'll shoot, since you opened up, I'll be honest about myself. I think growing up, and none of this, by the way, is a pity party for old Tim here. Growing up, a lot of the measurement of things for me was that social acceptance piece. You know, I could tell a joke and nobody would laugh. Everybody would mock and say you're trying to be funny, and then some other kid could say the same joke and everybody would want to be their best friend, right? And what separates that was something I never understood. I struggled so hard to understand why some people were accepted, or dare I say, kind of socially catered to, and others were not. What separated me from them? And I think early on in my life, that kind of created a foundational belief of I'm never going to understand it, but I'm going to acknowledge that there is something that I will never be able to figure out. But I spent then so much time and energy trying to figure it out, and sometimes trying to break through that and to find that kind of level of acceptance, whether it be get invited to a party or be one of the team, all these different types of things. As I grew older, unfortunately, that led me into a lot of toxic situations. It led me to start befriending people and hanging out with people, dating people even who very much were very heavily praised early on. And then you find out later on it becomes very conditional and you don't recognize it. And it really starts to mess with you, I think, in that sense. So I can see kind of where that originated from, and over the last number of years especially, I've been really, really pleased to see how I built my way out of that. And not putting yourself out there is still something that I struggle with for sure. Erika, to your point that other people are already saying these things, so why should I say them? I think where I exist right now mentally, as I think through this, is changing the nature of the outcome. We were talking before about do you think people knew when they made this movie that it was going to be a great movie or a popular movie or a cult classic? I think that kind of defines, maybe broadly speaking, a lot of what we're seeing now, which is people seek to write a book to make a statement, right? They choose the theme first, and then they craft a story around the theme, or the narrative, as we want to call it, or the message, and then let's craft a story. And we all know that it comes out very two-dimensional, substanceless, inconsistent, no heart, no spirit. I feel like the greatest writers and artists, they just tried to embody the human experience first off, put it on the page, and the themes have been extrapolated after, right? We start to recognize them after, but the only way that you can really see them so deeply embedded is if you, as the creator, don't have that agenda, right? Charles Dickens is a beautiful, in my opinion, beautiful prose writer, and the characters, even just in Christmas Carol, are so deep. And yet I don't think he had a psychology degree, and that he went and started understanding all the childhood things of a young boy who's neglected by his father, who then turns into an old miser. I don't think that was necessarily something he had to go do to make sure it was accurately represented, but I think he could still understand the human nature of a character like that, put it on paper, and then the rest of us over the years since have been able to extrapolate that. So maybe I should stop worrying about that. To use I statements, maybe I should just do the best I can and let that be the expectation, not how many followers, likes, all of these things be how I measure, but just continually every day show up.
Yeah, that's as soon as you said that, my instant is the best I can good enough? Like, can I let the best I can be good enough? For me,
right. Yeah.
for me, can that just be good enough? Alec, you put some stuff in the chat here. Psychology originates in personal observation and inquiry. Maybe that's what we need more of. Are you not speaking because you don't know if your speakers are working? Are they not working? You know this for a fact?
I think that I would come across extremely choppy.
Okay, well, I heard you there, but all right. If you want to say something, put it in the chat. I'll read it on your behalf if you're giving me permission to do that. Brett, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you asked the question earlier, are we ready and prepared to stand in our power? And I can honestly say I've never been more comfortable, more prepared, or more armed in my truth and wanting to speak it. I feel she is trying to speak me, probably because I mocked people earlier. But it's, we can all be limited by our audience, but I don't think the size of the audience matters as long as we are speaking our truth and it's something that is honest, supportive, and heartfelt. Be that within the family unit, working in a wider community. It doesn't have to be on a global scale. I know that the thing is like, what's going to be scalable, to monetize it. No, there's real need for batteries within people's homes and world, individual personal worlds that hold that for them. So you don't have to be on the global stage to be that powerful.
Cool. Brett, anything you want to say on this?
All right, I'm going where I go every once in a while here. I would love to hear what our viewers have to say about our conversations within the last 3 weeks, because I think we're hitting on some really good topics, and just so we know the direction, right? But I feel like there's more accountable part for all of us in the world, more accountable for how we show up, right? And I just want to know what the viewers think. How does what we're talking about sit with you? Do you resonate with it? Do you not resonate with it? What's your opinion? Because those opinions, they do count. Because guess what? You're a part of the world. And we're here to connect. So I would really like to see some of the comments as to where you are. And maybe you can be honest where you wouldn't have said something, or, whatever it is. Well, we're going to read it, and, it'll guide us. It'll support us. It'll shift our perspective. You know what I mean? There's impact. You're just as powerful as any one of us sitting here. And just really curious as to what the viewers have to say as well.
Cool. Tim, closing thoughts?
I think one of the most fundamental truths that most of us are seeking is that question of who am I? But I think what's interesting about that is who am I to who? And I think if we can't identify that, or when we do identify it, we can start seeing why we're motivated in many different ways, right? Who am I compared to the entire world? My Facebook community, my Instagram community, all of these things. Who am I to my family? It's interesting to see if there is a breakdown in a family structure and you don't feel like roles are defined in there, maybe you don't care so much about who am I in regards to the family. So then I go seek other places. And as we continue to explore those other areas, as the world gets smaller, and we keep asking that question again and again, we have to remember that who am I is oftentimes filtered through that compared to who. And I think, Erika, you really hit an important nail on the head there, right? Which is, who am I to me? Who am I to me? What's the potential that exists within me? And I don't know if it'll be 4 people, 400 people, 4 million. I don't know. But why does that matter more than just me still being integral to who I am, the best version of me from day to day? Maybe that's where the energy needs to be focused. And then the great literature of our life will be recognized by some people, maybe not. Maybe some people won't. But is that what we need to hold as important?
Cool. Alec, you have closing thoughts? No, you're good. So for me, going off of what you guys just said, everywhere I go, there I am kind of concept is what I feel like. So I'm the only person that I'm going to be with all the time is me, right? I'm always with myself. So I have to be the best version for me. It's got to be for me and me first, because I'm stuck with me. I'm not getting away from me any way I cut it. So if I'm coming from that to that from a place of pure, and like my intentions are true and honest, and I'm within integrity and staying congruent with myself, and I'm stepping into my power from that place for myself, I can't help but think that anybody who is in my vicinity that is close to me is going to get a positive ripple effect from that, because my power is going to influence their power, and so on and so forth. It's a healthy kind of transference of power, as opposed to what we're all used to seeing, which is the unhealthy transference and abuse of power. So let's change it the other way. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, that's the end of today's episode. Thank you for sticking with us, and we'll see you again next time. All our details will be in the comments below.